A disaster is, by definition, any unfortunate event or sudden great misfortune. That is the very definition of what Los Angeles has experienced. The winds, the fires, they've been absolutely devastating. And many have lost homes and possessions. Many have lost pets and loved ones. Far too many people have died unexpectedly and suddenly because of this great unfortunate event. There is much that has been lost in this tragedy, and I want to give you some understanding of the scope of this loss in the hopes that it will provide you some sense of control. First, we're going to talk about what this disaster did to us and left us with. And then I'll let you know of some things you can do to respond. So I've worked with Dr. J. William Warden, who's one of the amazing people who know grief and loss. And he has so much that he can share with us and help us to understand. And I want you to understand kind of what he's talking about. And so I'm leaning very heavily on what Dr. Warden talks about. And the first thing that I want to share is that there is a real sense of unreality. We have this disbelief, this sense of denial almost about the loss, that this just couldn't happen, that it just couldn't be possible that this went on. It's overwhelming for our cognitive abilities, it's overwhelming for our mind, and it really does just leave us sort of dazed and confused, feeling that way. And one of the consequences of that is having a real trouble concentrating, not being sure what to do next. I've talked to several people, and that is a common kind of statement that they have made. They're just not sure what to do next. It's just almost like waiting, and it's really hard to kind of figure out and to concentrate on the next things that need to be done. That also leads us to having difficulty sleeping, nightmares, not sleeping at all, just in and out of sleep and all, however it may manifest for us. It can just be really, really problematic and difficult in this sense of this unreality. It also leaves us with a lot of feelings of guilt. If only I had known sooner, if only I had prepared sooner, if only I'd remembered to get this, if only I'd have been closer, or if I had been told sooner. These kinds of if onlys lead us into a sense of feeling really guilty sometimes of what we could have done if we'd have known something differently. And that's pretty normal. Pretty hard to deal with, but pretty normal. Another element that we have to work with is the need to blame. And we can see that already happening with politicians and others already stepping into this. And it goes to the sense of causality. What could have done, what could have brought this crazy kind of overwhelming experience to us? Someone, something, somewhere has to be responsible. It's hard to understand and hard to allow for the real just sense of randomness that much of life really has as a part of it. The randomness or the unpredictability, even to the level of the catastrophe that we have experienced, that has been done to us, that we have endured. There is just a need to blame, some need to place that somewhere so that we can find a way to begin to make some sense, begin to work with this and deal with this. This kind of stuff, this disaster, leaves us with a sense of helplessness as well. It's an assault on our agency, our ability as human beings to be able to control what goes on in our lives and what happens to us, whether it's our own sense of worthiness and worth, or whether it is just the things that are around us. It's our ability to manage the sense of vulnerability, our own personal power that we have. And you have a great disaster like this, and really it destroys that facade that we live under, that we are in control. And that's really challenging. It's really, really difficult. And then you take another element of this that always gets brought into play in a disaster like this, is the involvement of the medical and the legal authorities. It can make moving forward very, very difficult because all the legal aspects have to be settled. Some folks weren't allowed into their homes, back into those neighborhoods very quickly. Some may still be waiting outside to get in because of the toxicity. And here are other authorities that are standing around and telling us that we can't do that. We can't get into that. And that just compounds what's going on. And I have to get in there. I need to get in there. I want to get in there. All of that together. We just have to wait. Wait while these investigations and the insurance, the final reports of the events, all of this stuff goes on. And that is going to take a really long time. And those are some of it that makes it really difficult. Not all of it, though, because now we're also living with this sense of agitation, which is a real normal response. It's a trauma response. It's that idea of fight, flight, freeze, or annihilate. I've got to respond in some way. Just the very basic, what they call the reptilian kind of response when we have had our safety shattered. But this low-level agitation, this sense of still just kind of being anxious and antsy and waiting for something else to come along, is hanging there with us. And we can feel that working in our bodies. We can feel that in pulsing sometimes, in just the almost like the electric wires, the vibration, the just vibrating within us. And that makes us feel really uncomfortable. It's not something we're used to. Another part that we're all grappling with is the ambivalent losses. These sorts of things that, until we get back to our home and can see the reality of it, what actually looks like, to know fully what we have lost. We've lost our community, we've lost our home, but there are also, other kinds of items and the sense of safety. And it just doesn't feel right. It leaves a field of regrets, this unfinished business, this unknowing that we have. And maybe we're struggling too because we're waiting to find a loved one, to know for sure what's going on, what happened to them. Those ambivalent losses are really, really hard. Then you've got the layer of the multiple losses and all those kinds of things. Again, house, home, community, neighborhoods, a particular, tree, the way that we drive to work, all of these multiple losses and things that come, that provide us, the things that are in our lives that provide us a sense of normalcy and community, and they're all gone. They're all gone. And then finally, we struggle to understand this and have this need to understand. Why did this happen? Why me? Why any of us? Bill Plaschke, who's a columnist for the Los Angeles Times, had a home in Altadena. Didn't know he had to evacuate. When he got back in, he found that his home was still standing. Wrote a beautiful column. I invite you to look it up on the Los Angeles Times, where he really struggles about asking those questions. Why did my home survive? Where's the fairness and justice in that? Why is the home of my neighbor, my friend, the homes that I have been into, why did they get destroyed and mine not? Why didn't this happen to me? All of these things mess with, what's kind of called the assumptive world, the world that we live in, that we kind of have knit together to understand what the world is like and how I can function in it. And now we're going to be struggling for a long time to try to take this massive loss and make it fit into our own world and how it works. We have to accommodate this event so that there's room for something this comprehensive. We're going to have to have it fit into our world in some manner so that from here on out, we know how to act and how to respond to events that come to us, not only in these coming days, but through the rest of our life as well. So those are incredible kinds of things, a huge amounts of a series of losses. And it all really falls under the understanding of trauma. And what are some of the responses that come to trauma? Well, you may be having now intrusive thoughts, things that you just can't get away from, where you always find yourself thinking about what happened and how it happened and what you did and what moments you went through and what you were feeling and all. Those are really common trauma experiences. Another one is the avoidant thinking. I just can't think about that. I don't know what to do with all of that. I don't know how to allow that space in my life. And so I just stay away from it and hold it at bay. And it's so much and so overwhelming that just takes an awful lot of energy and an awful lot of our attention, even if it's unconscious attention, to hold that stuff back. And one of the other real common ones is this hyperarousal. I noticed today there was an alarm that went off for an Amber Alert, and the alarms all on the phones all went off. And I quickly grabbed my phone to find out, where was the fire, what was going on, what was happening. Expecting it to be a fire, expecting that these kinds of notifications are going to come through, expecting some other kind of danger and looking out for it and trying to be, really just over the top aware of that so that we can remain safe. These are, again, really pretty standard kinds of things that happen to us when we have been traumatized. And so if you're feeling any of these kinds of things, if you've experienced these things, please, please, I want you to understand that that's what it has done to you. This traumatic event is something that was done to you. And so now comes the need to respond back to that. And how do we respond? Well, I want to give you 4 things to think about. 4 things that might help you be able to respond to all of this that's going on. First is to give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to experience all this. That's why I went through all that stuff. I want that laid out there so that if any of it feels or sounds familiar, if any of it is a part of what you are experiencing, to know that that is what it's supposed to be. That's what these disasters bring to you. And in that, knowing that it's not something that you are doing, it's just the way you're responding. Give yourself permission that this is a part of what you're going through. That permission addresses the immediate physical, emotional, and the cognitive issues that we have, the numbness that we may be feeling, that sense of overwhelming impossibility to get through this. Or if the nightmares are coming, or the fogginess in your brain. It does a lot to say to yourself, I've been traumatized. I went through this. This happened to me. And this is a part of what it means. That permission becomes very helpful in moving through this. The second thing I want you to think about is power. And I want you to claim the power that you have to address what you can right now. And that may be limited, but even a little bit of some kind of sense of power and control will help you move forward. Right now, there's probably a lot of legalities and a lot of insurance things that are beyond what you can currently control. You maybe just doing a lot of research and hearing and sitting with people and going to FEMA and to the other organizations and filling out the claims that you have to do, doing the preparations that you need to do. Those kinds of things will give you a sense of what we call agency. Doing some kind of action toward this. That says I'm not still having something done to me. I'm able to move forward with this. I'm able to do something about my situation. That combats that real sense of helplessness that we can feel. And it does take a few steps forward. A few steps forward to be able to be prepared and to be ready for the next things that come along. The next things that you're going to need to understand, the next things that your decisions you're going to need to make about those are going to be really, that sense of power is going to help you a lot with that. A third thing then is patience. None of this is anything that you will do quickly. There's far too much involved with this and far too much to process. First off, what you're going through on a grieving standpoint and the trauma, there's really no timeline for. There's not anything that you can say, by this date, I expect to be done or will be done or can be done. It is an ongoing thing as you begin to discover more, learn more, as you adapt, move out and rediscover some of that power for yourself. You will also have to revisit some of this and sort of readapt in your own life again. It is this ongoing thing. So giving yourself patience to go through this. But you layer that with the emotional stress also, the physical depletion that you are feeling, the spiritual sense of just like overwhelm, of not being able to know what this all means and what all to do with it and why it all comes, and finding that sense of reason for it. You're going to be managing that for a while because there is a tremendous amount here. So I know this is going to be hard, and I know that this sounds maybe different from what a lot of other people are saying. But don't jump too quickly to normalcy. Allow that normalcy that you build, that you are adapting to grow in an organic manner. Don't force it, in other words. Let it develop, and you will grow with it and you will grow into it. If you try to force it, if you try to say, to yourself that we're getting back there and it's going to happen and we're going to do that soon and everything, what that can do is set you up for a deeper struggle, because your expectations that you set up for yourself and to move through this won't match with reality. They won't mesh. And you're going to need the energy instead of internally fighting that. You're going to need the energy to do the important work of finding your footing. So be patient. Patience doesn't mean not being active, not being aware, not being involved. It means giving yourself some more time. And the last thing then is people. Go seeking the support that you need to move forward in this. That's crucial. That's absolutely crucial. There's current stuff right now, and boy, we saw people coming everywhere to come and support us. There was, video and things in places all over about food and the clothing and water and other kinds of needs that people may have had, to begin to find that sense of foundation. Those are the very basics: food, water, clothing, and shelter. It's part of why it's so difficult, because the shelter is really hard. But finding the people that can help you, finding those organizations that can support and provide what you're looking for. There's many avenues right now. Seek out those outlets to receive that support. And then on the long-term basis, that long-term help is going to be crucial as well. And it's going to be support in the emotional and the cognitive tests. There may need to be some counseling. You may need to find some groups. You may need to listen to this or other kinds of videos and other things that people have done. My grief colleagues have been wonderful about putting out information, creating different forums for people to enter into so they can find the support. Allow that stuff, use it to buttress you and to strengthen you for this long journey ahead. Reach out. We may not be very good at that, but reach out for the help that you need. And when someone comes to you and asks, is there something I can do? Let them do some simple things. Receive that help. Receive that help. Maybe they can do some research for you. Maybe they can pick up the kids. Maybe they can watch your children or do something for some space for you to just be with what's going on. I don't know, but take and receive any of those help opportunities that come. Giving yourself permission, using the power you have, having the patience to carry through this long term and to receive from other people. Those are going to be really key to making your way through. I do hope this has been really helpful, and I'm thankful that you all have joined us here at this, be it in real time or sometime in the future. And I hope that you found some inspiration. I hope you found something that you can latch on to be able to find some peace on that moment when you're struggling. Maybe it'll help you be just a bit more relaxed as you wrestle with all that comes your way. My deep thanks to Jessica as well for monitoring the feed and the page that we have at Facebook, and we invite you to share with us. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be a part of us together in these journeys through grief. During this most incredible time, this most difficult time, we at Journeys send you peace as you travel this this pathway.